What do you want people to say about John Bossman Hall when your name stands alone?
I mean, I'm very proud that they tell my family, oh, you can go to Motown. And when you walk into the Motown Museum, you going to see my face. And you're going to be like, well, how you get to this? It's all in who you know and all in what you did. And when you thought I wasn't doing this, I was doing this.
Exclusive interviews, global voices, real stories.
Welcome to Worldwide Entertainment TV, and I'm your New York and Atlanta host, Miss Goldie, and that's Miss Goldie to you. You know, at Worldwide Entertainment TV, we always bring you the exclusives, the special interviews, and people that you may not see anywhere else unless you see them on the big stage. So today, I have the pleasure of interviewing Mr. John the Bossman Hall. Thank you for joining us today.
Oh, the pleasure. Pleasure to be here.
And it's definitely a pleasure to have you. I've been watching you. I have the pleasure of working with you over at Moontown Records. And I mean, you're just such a refreshing breath of fresh air when it comes to this music. So we're just going to get right into it.
Yeah.
When people hear James Brown, because Mr. Bossman does a lot of James Brown. When people hear James Brown, they feel energy before they hear a note. When people hear John Bossman Hall, what do you want them to feel instantly?
Well, when they hear the music start and if they know me or been around me, they know I'm coming with the energy. That's the main thing. To light the
Uh-huh.
stage up, to get the people on their feet, to let them understand, I'm not James Brown, but I'm gonna take you back to that time and that you see a great artist that you never saw before and see me reform straight into this person.
Now let's get this out the way. How many capes, splits, and sweat towels are we talking about per performance?
Well, I usually okay,
That's
yeah, we
amazing.
have no queue with me. So I make sure that I'm well prepared. I have a very good energized band, Kason Express Band. We all work together very close. We go from here to
Now,
wherever
the
people may
band
be.
is important. You cannot do James Brown without the band. So big shout out to the band because the band was his other. The band was a whole part of his performance. They knew how to rock with him. They
That's
knew
right.
when the breaks was coming. They knew when he was gonna bust a solo. So your band, yeah, big shout out to them. They are very important because they have to know you and they have to know when you getting ready to change something up, when you getting ready to take a cut and start talking. The band has to know that.
That's right.
If James Brown walked in right now and watched you perform, what do you think he would say?
He would be proud. He'd be proud, and then come to find out that he met the young man that's doing this many, many years ago. I think he'll be very proud, that the legacy is being carried on.
Yes. And you are doing him a great service.
Yeah.
Where were you in life the first time James Brown's music hit your soul?
Well, I was about a good 10 years old. My cousin, Wayne Brewer, Wayne used to always play James Brown in the house. And I could just get up and start dancing. I mean, the music just makes you dance. It's not like you can sit there and say, I don't want to dance. No, that music
Right.
makes you dance. So, as a young boy, I was listening to James Brown a lot. My father, on the other hand, he wanted me to listen to Jackie Wilson.
Mhm.
Two great people,
Right.
so like, wow. But then I come to find out, that I can do either. But people love when I do James. Yeah, I mean, they
Mhm.
say, you put me in the memory of him and the way that you do it, you got it down. You really got him down. And that was because, I met James Brown twice in my life,
Tell
and
us about that when you met James Brown.
oh wow. The first time it was in 1984. Um, I was working at the Uptown Theater in Philadelphia as an usher. And there was the first show that came there was James Brown and the Dells. And
Mhm.
I just happened to be working that day, and there was another gentleman, same last name as mine. His name was William Hall, and he saw me, and he glanced over there and said, "John," And I said, yeah, how you doing? He said, whoa, whoa. The guy said, what are you talking about? He said, well, we got some guy. I got somebody for you. So we went back in the office and they was talking to me. Back then we wasn't making the kind of money we making now for a salary, at a
Mhm.
job, So he asked me what I wanted to perform. I said 1,500 to do the show. He said, I'll give you that now. What you talking about, 1,500? I said, yeah. I said, if you want a show, we got to put the show together and, we'll come and do it. So I said, who I'm looking to shoot for anyway? He said, it would be James Brown and the Dells. I said, what?
Wow.
So I went home. I told my father. I said, Dad, I'm ready to open up for James Brown. My father said, what are you talking about? You ain't open up a new James Brown. I said, you going to see the marquee around Broad Street at the Uptown. You will see the flamingo dancers opening up for James Brown and showing up. That was a pleasure that night. So much happened in that night that
Mhm.
my life changed at that
Right.
moment. I met James. He watched me perform. He told me to, wow, you're great. You're real good. Keep
Ama
it. So I said, okay. Then after that, we was backstage and somebody came back and said, somebody want to see you, but they're going to leave a number for you at the front office. I said, okay. So, I'm thinking somebody did just want to hire us to do another show. So
Mhm.
that next morning, Kyle Bowser called me and said, come around to the Uptown Theater for me. I got something for you. So I goes around there and he said, John, these people was here last night observing you, watching what you're doing. And they like it. They got something they want you to do for them. So I wound up calling them. It was Broadway Eddie, Kenny Gamble, Leon Huff, Cherie Galloway. They know her as Jeanette Galloway. She wrote a song,
Mhm.
tribute to Michael Jackson. And she
Oh,
needed
wow.
a group to do this song for her. So when she saw us on the show, and I had the little guys, one was like 8, the other one was 12, and the other guy was 13, and I was like 21 or 22 years old, had my dance group. So we turned around and I went to go see them, called them up and everything, went over there. I listened to the tape. I said,
Mhm.
what? You talking about Michael Jackson? He said, yeah. He said, we want y'all to do the song. I
Wow.
said, are you serious? He said, yes, we're very serious. He said, can you pull this off? He said, y'all already got a mean dance routine. We just want to add music to it now. So I said,
Mhm.
hey, I'm in all the way. And when I went back and told the young guy's parents, they was in. They was like, okay, let's do this. You know what I mean? At that time, we thinking that we're going to get a lot of money and kind of be millionaires, at that time because it's the Michael Jackson project. It didn't
Right.
happen. We did the song. The song took off. But at the same time, New Edition came along. This
Wow.
was in 1980, 81, 82, around that area. So we recorded that song in 1984. Okay.
Mhm.
And New
What's
Edition,
the name of the song?
it's called Let Do the Michael Jackson by the Broadway Thrillers. This is
Did
a
you ever
really,
get to meet Michael
oh,
Jackson?
yeah. Yeah. We was in the studio. Broadway Eddie called us down there to rehearse. So we're going over the song. And then Broadway came in with an older guy. And he walked in and he sat down and we was up there practicing with the hats, spinning the hats and dancing. And he said, y'all can stop. And I said, okay, what's going on, Eddie? He said, y'all been approved. I said, we've been approved. He said, yeah. I said, by who? He said, by the gentleman right here. And he bent over, grabbed the hair, and pulled it in front of him. And it was a mask that he had on. It was Michael Jackson. He just stood there and looked at him. And he was like, when he started talking, we knew exactly it was him. Just before Michael had the full change, he had
Mhm.
Jesus to Off the Wall album.
Okay.
You understand? So it was wow. It was amazing. We stayed together for about a good 3 to 4 years. Did some fantastic. One place that I would never forget. We had back in the day in Philadelphia, we had a place called the Spectrum. This is where
Mhm.
the Sixers used to play at, and stuff like that. We had to do the halftime for the 76ers at that time.
Wow.
And we came out on the floor. We had the Michael Jackson jackets on, but we had the Godfather hats, you know. and we had the patent leather shoes and the white pants and everything. And we got out there and we did our routine. And the whole stadium stood up when we got finished.
Amazing. What was the what was the inspiration behind you creating this dance group? Like, where did that come from? What made you decide to say, "I'm gonna get a group of performers and we're gonna go perform"?
Well, when I was about 13 years old, um, we had a block party on my block. And I came out and I heard the band and I heard the people at the corner. They had it blocked off with the cops and everything. And they had performers out there. So me and my
Mhm,
brother, we went up to the corner and I'm watching these guys. They was in red and black tuxedos, right? And I mean, I only seen this type of stuff on television with Fred Astaire and Ginger Rogers and the Nicholson brothers. You know, I seen these guys and they was called the Flamingo Kings, right?
mhm,
Everybody knew them as the Flamingo Dancers. And they was just fantastic. So I asked my brother, I said, listen, who are them guys? He said, well, one of them is your cousin. I said, what? He said, yeah. He said, I said, which one? He said, the one in the front, Bodie. He said,
right.
and he was smooth. I mean, stepping. They was actually stepping and looking sharp. And I was like, wow, look how they moving, man. You know, Bodie came by the house one day and he asked my father. He said, listen, we have a drill team also, which I didn't know nothing about. And he said they was cross town because I lived on one side of Broad Street. They was on the other side of Broad Street. But he started another dance group and the drill team on my side of town. You know,
Mhm.
and he was part of the Challenges Jazz drill team. You know, so we got together like that, and he started teaching me. You know, and I remember these guys: Will, Sue, Bill, Ralphie, Bodie, Jack Banks, Cadillac. You know, I remember, and I just did a concert in Allentown for Jada X Entertainment, and they came up there to see the show with me. You know, we just sat back and enjoyed the concert and reminisce how we used to go out and perform back in the day. You know, but they were doing it before me. So when I got to be about 17, I went to them and I said, listen, I want to restart the name, the Flamingo Dancers, back up because they stopped. And I said, he said, y'all was fantastic to me. And he told me, go ahead, you know, and I still see them today. And they say, man, you did a fantastic job. You know, we're proud of you, you know, and continue doing what you're doing. And they support me.
That's great, and it's good to pay homage where homage is due because people steal people's talent, craft, creativity, names all the time, and they never pay homage to, um, where they got certain things from, and that on this show, we love to pay homage because that's what it's about,
That's
the
right.
origin of things, where things begin.
That's
How
right.
did we get to this point? Before the stage lights, who was John Hall, the man, not the performer?
Father of 6 children, 2 boys, I mean, 4 boys, 2 girls. Um, I'm just a humble person, you know. I'm a Muslim, you know. I believe in Allah, subhanahu wa ta'ala. I just try to just be the greatest entertainer I can be. You know,
Right.
I've been around the best of the best. You know,
Mhm.
um, one of my first cousins, Morris Gardner, was the lead singer for the Dream Lovers. You know, they
Oh,
had the song, "Darling, whoa, when we get married." You know, I love that song and love them. Then my second cousin, Russell Thompson from the Stylistics. He's the lead singer of that group. You know, Russ used to practice in my mother's basement when I was a little boy. You know, I used to go down there and watch him practice and stuff like that. Didn't know who they were. You know, I used to see him. Then I saw him on the album cover one day, and I said, "Wow, man, how you get on the album cover, Russ?" Well, we the Stylistics, we a group. I was like, "Oh, okay," you know. But I had the inspiration in my family. You know, I had people around me that pushed at me. Like you said, you got to give credit to what credit is due. Miss
right.
Mimi Brown from WDAS Radio. She was
Mhm.
behind Flamingo Dancers a lot. She used to bring us in and do different concerts, you know. who was it? Mr. Dave Bailey. Mr. Dave Bailey was a famous boxer. He was well known in England while Muhammad Ali was over here, but they both had the same coach, Angelo Dundee. But he used to manage us, for a while after Mimi stopped.
Mhm.
Dr. Perry Johnson, WDAS, Lady B, the famous rapper, Miss Lady B, who is now, giving up basement parties and stuff like that. We go way back. Steve Green from Breakwater, you know. I've been around a lot of them, and recently, like I said, I was summoned to Motown, you know, and
Mhm.
I'm gonna say, when they say God is good and you say he's good all the time, you know, that's a true statement.
It
In my
is.
book, you know what I mean? Because I seen it done right before my eyes. My
Mhm.
father and my mother, if they was living today, to see their youngest son be inducted into the Wall of Fame in Motown, they would
That's amazing.
never thought that would ever happen. I never thought that would ever happen.
Right. Right.
I never even seen it coming. I mean, it came out of the left field, out of nowhere, and I think the Four Tops, their sister Thelma,
Mhm.
Sue, and the Stub Girls. They are the nieces and the daughters and sisters of the Four Tops. The ones who really introduced me to Miss Brenda Wilson,
Mhm.
Jackie Wilson's daughter. And when she saw me perform, she was like, "You're amazing." She said, "You remind me of my father. You remind me of Michael. You remind me of Jackie. James Brown. Sam Cooke." And I got a chance to meet the daughters and the families.
Right. It's amazing to get that internal cosign, 'cause it's one thing when you sounding and doing someone and paying tribute to someone, but when they're family, when you actually can remind the people of that originality. What was the hardest sacrifice you had to make in chasing this sound and this legacy?
The hardest sacrifice, I would say, is just being true to yourself.
Mhm.
You have to be true to yourself in this game because I look at what James said. You know, I don't want nobody to give me nothing. Open up the door and let me get it myself. You
Right.
know? So I think in them type of matters, because once I had grown up and learned a lot about the business, you know, there's some dark sides to it, but I never went on the dark side. You know, I had people that was around me that loved me, that kept me away from that. They seen that, I had a different outlook at things. You know, I wasn't just one of them people that was like uh looking for a lot of fame. That wasn't it. We did what we did because we love what we did. We like to dance. You know what I mean? Then when I got into singing, and stuff like that with Philly Cream, I would say that was one of my hardest sacrifices. And I'm gonna tell you why. Coming from my dance group, going into another recording group, I was giving up something that I really loved, and I loved them guys that was with me. You know, they went through the hard times and the struggles with me. And I still see them today. They like my little brother. They all grown. When they see me, they say, "Wow, you still doing it." I say, "Yes," because this is what was in me. But that
Right.
sacrifice of moving from that transformation into Philly Cream was totally different because now I'm developing to become a singer.
Mhm.
I'm going into a craft that I knew about but never did it.
Right.
So, and then family members and my cousins, the Goodmans, they always inspired me. Don't give up, keep on going. My sister, Pat, Falter, she behind me 100%. You know, um,
Good.
my nieces
Family
and nephews.
support
Yeah.
It's very
Exactly.
important. A lot of artists, athletes, anyone striving to create something seldomly has the support of their family, and that's it. You don't you may people may say, "I don't need them, I don't need them." You don't need them, but having that family support gives you that extra push when you go out here in this big, cold, cruel world. At least you know you have the support and the backing of your family.
That's
So
right.
that's important. So James Brown didn't just sing, he commanded.
Yeah.
What did you have to unlearn to step into that level of presence?
Hmm. Well, I'll put it like this. I come to find out that we're similar. I'm a
Mhm.
Taurus. He's a Taurus. We both have that drive for perfection. You know, mm, even my band members will tell you, I'll stop them. No, that's the wrong note. And they looking
Mhm.
at me like, you don't know nothing about music, and you telling me it's the wrong note. No, I got a good ear. I can hear that music, and I know what I'm hearing in that music that James put together. You know what I mean? So we're
Uh-huh.
similar. We're similar. You
I
know,
like that, I like that. How much of your performances study discipline versus raw instinct?
discipline and mannerisms. I always say there's three things that you got to have within this industry and within yourself: being physically, spiritually, and mentally inclined with yourself before you go outside to do anything outside the realm.
Do you ever feel pressure being compared to an icon, or does it fuel you?
I feel good about it. I don't feel no pressure at all because I earned it.
That's right.
That's not to say that be bragging about it, but I put the years in.
Not to toot my own horn, but I studied very hard. So, when you study and you are disciplined, and especially when you're studying someone else, because John Bossman Hall, is your own man as well, and we're
Yeah,
gonna get into that. It's
yeah,
not just all about James Brown or, Mr. Wilson and things like this. It's also about John Bossman Hall and what you do.
yeah.
What's the one James Brown move or vocal moment you still get chills doing live?
The dance, doing the dance, doing the slop, splitting, spinning around, throwing that mic out to the audience, scaring them, bringing it back up. You know, I I get joy out of that.
That's amazing. Where is John Bossman Hall right now in his evolution? Are you honoring the past or building a new lane?
Well, you're always building. The past is what you did to get to the future. So with Moontown Records that I'm signed to now under Herb Milliton, he's a multi-platinum recording producer, knows what he's doing,
Bitch.
has been there, done that several times with several artists. If we didn't have Herb, you wouldn't have had nobody like Mary J. Blige. You wouldn't have had people like Jackie McGee. You wouldn't have had Keith Sweat and all them, Total and them. This is the man that did it. So when I see that a man has a legacy like I have a legacy, I go along with that because they're telling me he's on the right track. He knows what he's doing. You just have to have faith and hang in there because Motown wasn't built overnight, but
That's
Moontown
right.
is going to be built for a long time and forever.
I always say that a legacy is not a race, it's a marathon. So it's something you have to continue to It's something that has to stand when you're no longer here. What separates a tribute artist from a legacy carrier?
Hmm. Well, if you're a legacy, you have a legacy what you've been doing in your life. That's good because that's for your family, your grandchildren, your great great grandchildren. They carry your legacy on and talk about you when you're not here no more. Um, with the tribute artist, you just have to remember this: you're not that artist. You're giving a tribute to this artist. Do not think at one time you can get the kind of money that they got for their real artists. No, you're giving a tribute because, first of all, you should love that artist. You should know things about that artist that you're doing because when people ask you where did that inspiration come from, you know, you know this person's background, his legacy. I talked to Deanna Brown, James Brown. I talked to his son. I
Mhm,
talked to his son's wife. I let them know that I love this man.
mhm.
This is why I do what I do to keep that legacy about. It's not about what the rest of them do. I know how I do it. And I love the man. I met the man, and I know that in our culture, he did a lot in our culture as well
Right,
as waking us up, letting us know you got to get on the good foot. You know, you can't be sitting around, just thinking things gonna come to you. You know,
drop the jewels if you was gonna catch catch them.
that's right. Yeah,
What has been your most viral or unforgettable crowd reaction so far?
this one is it's two, but one outdoes the other one. I loved it the crowd at the Apollo
Mhm.
because you get past that crowd, you do it something.
You get past anybody in the world?
And the main one that outweighs that one, I loved it the crowd at Times Square.
Tell us about your Times Square moment.
That was a moment. I give credit to Grandmaster DXT, who was one of the first Grammy Award winners. I give credit to Rhonda Farewell Thorpe, Rhonda Supreme, who is my role manager. I give credit to Dougie Fresh, that actually put things in motion for me to get this done. So there's always somebody behind John the Boss Man pushing, you know. So
Right.
the opportunity came and they said, we're going to do the 50th anniversary of hip hop.
Uh-huh.
So it was put on the table. Well, let's give a tribute to James Brown since most all the rappers took from James Brown's music. And they felt as though, why not? Who we going to get to do it? And just Grandmaster, Grand Mixer, DXT said, John the Boss Man. And they were like, you got his number? He said, number, I got it right here. And he called me.
That's
He
him.
said,
That's a
listen,
big opportunity, and a lot of well-known celebrities
yes,
never get a chance to be a part of the Times Square New Year's Eve show or New Year's Day show. What was it like you was in the Apollo crowd on a bigger level, right? So, what was that like? How did the people respond?
that that journey at the Apollo was like, you don't know if you're gonna hit or miss, but you gotta have that confidence in yourself. And see, that's when my ego turned on. When I gotta go out here and be in competition with other people. See, I'm gonna give you 190, not just 110. I'm gonna give it all to you. When I went there into the Apollo, I said, you know what? I took that show just like it was the first time me going on stage. And when I gave it to him, I knew that I had something that most people don't have.
Right.
It was a gift. I got that from the flamingo dancers. When
Mhm.
we started spinning the hat, people see that dazes them. They're like, "What did he just do with that?" You know what I mean? So that's
Yeah.
my weapon. That's one of my weapons. Besides the vocals sounding like James, dancing like James. You know what I mean? And then the crowd was feeling it, and I got to win. I
I
got to
love
win.
that because it's hard, number 1. You can't just go out doing the artist because people are gonna be very critical. If you miss a step, if you didn't sweat enough, if you didn't do the split,
Right.
so it's a lot of pressure. Is
Yeah.
James Brown an influence or a responsibility?
He's an influence to me, but it's my responsibility to keep it going.
I love that, I love that. What parts of your own story do you intentionally weave into these, performances?
Well, sometimes on stage, I'll talk to the crowd, you know,
Mhm.
and I'll let them know, uh, what I'm doing, what is my goal to this, do you think I did a good job at representing James? and I always get standing ovation. You know, I haven't felt that pressure. Like some people say, have you ever got scared? I said, no,
Uh-huh.
I never got scared because I started off as a dancer. So,
Right.
we danced in the street, we drill team with other people. You know, they wasn't in need to be scared. It's just that, I have that zeal to just continue to keep that drive going, And like I said, with Moontown, you know, um, I have a few songs that I already done, under her, My Limousine. We're working on getting that out. We have out now the Hot Flash Dance under
I did not know that you was on that song.
yeah.
Tell us about working with her. What is it like working with Herb Middleton? And I mean, I've personally worked with Herb Middleton on music, and his thought process, what he's
When I
thinking.
met him, it was funny how I met him because I was talking to Mr. Goldman, Mark. And
Mhm,
Mark was telling me that he's working under this producer and this and that. So I kept on saying, well, what's the man's name? You keep telling me about a producer, but he never told me about the man. So he started telling me and he said, well, I think you should contact him. You know what I mean?
mhm,
So I did contact her and he read my bio, seen the stuff that I did. He,
mhm.
you know, this guy's polished, you know. So I met up with him, went up there to Delaware to the studio and everything. And some people look to see somebody differently, but her is a very intelligent. You know, he he observes you very well, and he know where he can take you at.
Mhm.
If you have a person with his standards. You know what I mean? And what he has already done in the industry. You know, um, there's no doubt there because I look at her the same way I looked at Tony Carmelo from out of Motown. Tony was a genius as far as writing songs and so many songs that people wouldn't even believe that Tony Carmelo wrote. Same way with Herb Militant. Make
Right.
it last forever. Keith Sweat and Jackie McGee. You know what I mean? He I would say a genius in his own time.
Well, I don't know if he did that song. I know he works with Jackie McGee, so, I don't know that he did the Keith Sweat Make It Last Forever song, and, I don't want us saying things that they ain't happen, and they not gonna come try to beat up John, they gonna come try to beat up Kevin. 'Cause Miss Goldie know how to duck. Yeah. Yeah, she's definitely a hometown artist, and, yeah, yeah, let's clear that one
Yeah,
up,
yeah,
because
she's
I
the
don't like
woman.
to say allegedly on my show, I like to tell the truth all the
Yes, yes,
time.
yes,
When
indeed.
the lights go off and the crowd is gone, what keeps you grounded?
My children, my grandchildren. That's the time for them when the curtains close. You know what I mean? Spend that time with them to get them to know, who their grandfather is, who their father is. Like I tell my children, I don't care matter if you are 30 something years old, you know, yeah, I'm still your father, but I am more your advisor now.
That's right, that's right. Because once
Right.
our kids reach a certain age, is you're no longer parenting them, you're kinda coaching them and guiding them through the things of adulthood, so now it's not, "You just gotta do what I said," now it's they could take it or leave it, so
That,
I
that's
love
it.
that you said that and put it that way because people just say, "I'm still your father."
No,
Yeah, but now I'm somebody's father.
that's
So how
right.
does this work out, you know? Because all my kids are parents, and it's like, I can't overparent them because they gotta parent their own kids. Imma
That's
be
right.
grandma, and I love that you know, that's a big part of
Love
family.
it.
How does social media change the way classic soul artists connect with younger audiences?
Well, the younger artists today, I like their music. I like some of the new artists that's coming. The old school music, the classics, gonna stay there. That's not gonna never go away. The new music that we're making now, that we're trying to bring back to the forefront um, with Moontown. It's going to be the love music that we used to have many, many years ago. See, some of the young ones today, they only hear the Marvin Gaye, they hear the Smokey Robinsons and, How I'm Loving the Blue Notes, the Love I Lost and all that. So it
You
goes hand
bring
in hand. It goes hand in hand.
I'm hoping it goes a hand to hand, but what I do notice is this generation is even though the generations before sampled a lot of these artists, they never really gave leeway to the listener that this came from somewhere else. We
Um,
got this from whoever we got it from. So the history and the legacy didn't follow. So now I see these kids going back into old school. They're having like my daughter has a record player. She has records. She has Rick James album, Michael Jackson's album. And we moved so far away from vinyls
right. That's
and
coming
then
back.
we went to tape, cassette, CD, they done moved away from that, and
Yeah.
now it's streaming, and you're not forced to listen to what comes on the radio. That's how you learned a lot of songs you didn't know from the
Right.
radio. People don't even have to listen to the radio anymore. They could just go pick the artist they wanna hear and just listen to that. There's no it's kind of a hard way in because you gotta get in their algorithm. You gotta get in they playlist, and how do you get in they playlist if they wasn't looking for you? So,
Exactly.
it is a big, big change. What do you want people to say about John Bossman Hall when your name stands alone?
Well, they can say that, if they was around me, they know that, you know, he's a real funny guy. He like to laugh and have fun. Um, whatever they feel within their heart. But I hope it's all good. I hope that I was an inspiration. Yeah, I
Mhm,
mean, they say something good, but my job myself was to build that legacy and to leave it back there. So when they can go back, I look at it like this: if you could take a man and put him on a dollar bill, and now you got people that you can go into the Hall of Fame and see these things. Because I mean, I'm very proud that to tell my family, oh, you can go to Motown, and when you walk into the Motown Museum, you go see my face, and you gonna be like, why you get to this? It's all in who you know, and all in what you did. And when you thought I wasn't doing this, I was doing this. You know what I mean? And
making that
it's just to
legacy,
the light.
making that legacy. If James Brown dropped the album today, would he survive today's music industry?
Yes, because I just dropped one that sounds just like James called I'm the Boss Man. And everybody heard it and said, wow, that's James Brown. I said, I know. And I said, that's why my band at that time was Firestorm.
Mhm,
And they played with me so much that they came to know me and they watched and they wrote a song, 10 songs, matter of fact, on the album called Firestorm. The guys in the band got together and they wrote the Boss Man song. And they
mhm.
called me and they was like, we got a song for you. And when I heard it, I said, wow. They said, we put that James Brown flavor in there. We know you gonna bring the dance and then the singing with it. They said so automatically, when they hear that, it's a James Brown groove. So when I gave it to Brian Piccolo on Detroit radio station,
Mhm.
um, he says every time before I bring that song in, I mix it in with James Brown. He said because it's the same flavor. You know what I mean? And we never even knew it was gonna come out like that. But that's the work of God.
That's definitely the work of God. Would you ever do a James Brown versus a modern artist mashup? And if yes, who would that modern artist be?
Sammy Davis Jr.
Sammy Davis Jr. is not a modern artist.
He's an actor, but Sammy made music. Now you saying
Wait,
modern artists
Sammy
today?
who?
You saying modern artists today?
Yeah, they gotta come from today. They can't be dead.
Well, okay. Then the best one I
Wait,
know
is Sammy
now,
Davis Jr. still with us? Because I don't want to be saying he dead if he ain't.
right now, uh, The one for I'll go with Usher.
Usher?
Usher.
Oh, that would be interesting, like a James Brown Usher mix-up with the
Yeah,
dancing and everything.
yeah,
Yeah, that's a good one. That's a good
yeah,
one. Usher is
yeah,
definitely a good one.
yeah.
Has anyone ever told you to tone it down? And if they did, how did you respond?
I had somebody tell me one time. Matter of fact, we put it, yeah, yeah. Times Square, Times Square. Okay, the producer, he didn't know me, but everybody else knew me. He said, "You got 5 minutes." I said, 5 minutes. Okay, I guess I got to work with 5 minutes. Right? So I'm trying to figure, okay, be quiet. I don't want to be moving too fast. You know what I mean? I only got 5 minutes. So I'm timing in my mind these 5 minutes. So I went to spin to go off stage, and he was like this, go back, go back. After he saw how the crowd reacted, he said, continue until you're done. I was like, wow, you told me 5 minutes.
And you definitely needed more than 5 minutes, right?
Yeah. But he gave it to me. He said, man, go back. I was coming off stage. He was like, go back. You got the crowd.
What's one myth about James Brown people get wrong that you wanna set straight?
He wasn't really a woman abuser. He wasn't really like that. I mean, men, we get upset. We have arguments. You know what I mean? You know, I mean, back then, you got to realize the time era. We talking the 50s, the 60s. You know, James came up in an area where he came up very hard. You know what I mean? So he wasn't tolerating, no foolishness from nobody, even if it was his woman. You know what I mean? If he slapped her around, he didn't just do it just to be doing it. He did it for a purpose. You know what I mean? So I would
You
think,
get ready to get in trouble with the women now, Mister. Our comments gonna be long with that. Imma give you a chance to clean that one up because I'm trying to save you here.
they say, "Oh man, James, man," because they talk about Tammy Terrell, you know, and how she dealt with David Ruffin and James Brown and all that, and I mean, things
So
happen.
there's rumors out there that he had problems,
Yeah, yeah, they had
but sometimes people got out of line, right?
they got online, and they take them out. That's all, But I don't
I
think
am
that
not laughing about this,
I don't
ladies, I'm
think that
laughing
it
with
was.
him. I'm
I
not
don't think
laughing.
it was intentionally, but when they did the movie, I came in second place to play that part. I didn't know.
Oh,
I think that their main focus was on so much of the bad. That's the part I didn't
yeah.
like.
They
I
do
think they
that a
focused
lot
on
in
the bad.
biopics. They flip the story. They do that in visuals and medias and content all the time. They flip the story because people don't wanna hear good things. They wanna hear
Well,
the juice. They wanna hear the tea. They wanna hear things that they heard about. So, as a content creator, you wanna address those things because you know that's what's gonna make people go watch, even if you're ruining someone's legacy.
yeah, you're right about that. Because it seems like what is wrong is right, and what is right is wrong. You know.
Yeah, isn't
Mhm.
that
Mhm.
backwards? Like, you would wanna focus more on what was the good about the person,
Right,
not if you didn't know the bad things about them, you definitely don't need to know it when they're no longer here. You wasn't a part of it, you didn't need to know. It's kinda like a you had to be there thing
right,
to know the bad things about a person, and if you know the bad things about a person, it means you was in their immediate life. You were in their intimate circle. And
right.
these are things that you shouldn't be sharing publicly because if you was somebody that was gonna go out there and tell my business, you should have never been in my inner circle.
You
You
right.
should have been in my intimate
You right.
family, knowing my
Mhm.
flaws and downfalls because
Mhm.
you shouldn't be going out there to tell that kind of stuff. So,
Mhm.
so if Hollywood called you tomorrow for a James Brown biopic, are you ready?
Oh, more than ready. 1,000% ready. Um, but that was a beautiful experience, you know, when they did come to, well, they didn't come to Philadelphia. We had to go down to, it was like in Georgia, a part
Mhm.
down there. We was down there. Um, I think it should be done over. I really
Right.
do. I think the movie should be done over. I think certain things, highlights should be brung out, far as how he raised the children. You know, the donations and everything James did for every Christmas. He gave out turkeys, a whole truck load, and
They
certain
didn't tell
things.
any of that part, right?
Man, you got to tell what this man good was about, because you got people like Michael Jackson, Usher, Neo. They all admired this man. This
Right.
man was in their eyesight. Michael Jackson said that plenty times when
Yeah.
talking about James Brown. He said that was my idol. If it wasn't for James Brown, wow, I probably wouldn't
Yeah,
be doing what I'm
Michael
doing today.
Jackson definitely got mostly all his influence from
Yeah.
James.
Michael took James, Jackie Wilson, Elvis Presley, and Freddie
Mhm.
Smith and
Yes,
put
he
him.
did, and he mashed him up, and I see that a lot in Usher.
Yes.
I see that a lot in Chris Brown,
Hmm.
uh, going back to the greats and embodying the things and the techniques that they utilize. They touched all the areas. They sang, they danced, they did this, they did that. So what's next for John Bossman Hall? Original music, touring, mentorship, film, what's next?
Well, right now, we're getting ready to get this original music out there with Moontown. We're getting ready to take care of that. Um, I'm doing the City Winery this Sunday. After that, I'm at the Tropicana in Atlantic City for Valentine's Day. I'm giving a
Nice.
free concert. It's free to come in to the people. Free. You come, get you a hotel room, bring your wife, your girlfriend, or your other lovers, whatever, and get you a room. Come on down to the Tropicana. Head on down,
Get a free show with
bring with
John
you,
or
get a
Bossman
free show,
Hall.
and see, I got a trick for 'em. The first show is gonna be nice. It'll be me and another young lady that's gonna be there with me, and then we're gonna see what you can do. We're gonna see what that
Oh, so
lady.
it's gonna be an interactive event. I might have to
Oh,
pull
yeah,
up.
yeah, yeah. It was, because see, we're Moontown. We're looking for that next artist.
That's right, that's
So
right.
that's
So that's great, an interactive show, out in Atlantic City, Valentine's Day at the Tropicana. Make sure
Mhm.
you get that hotel room and come on enjoy the show, and Moontown is scouting artists, John the Bossman Hall looking for the next person that could possibly go on tour with him.
Yes,
How
sir.
do you want younger artists to study you the way you studied James Brown?
Study the legacy. Look at each. This is something that James Brown told me himself. He said, when you make one step, make that step and the next step greater than that step. Because, see, I went from Sunday at the winery, which is City Wineries, straight to Atlantic City, Tropicana. From the Tropicana, I bounced back into Philadelphia and do the Hard Rock Cafe. And then I get ready for a tour after that. Then we have
Baby.
Jada X Soulful Entertainment. We're coming with a cruise to the Bahamas. So I try to make everything
Nice.
better. You got to make every step better than the last step. And that's the same way with music. You know,
Mhm.
you do one song, your next song got to come out better. Because no one, like you said, no one knew that I was on that cut Hot Flash Dance. Yeah.
I didn't, and I've been trying to learn the hot flash dance, but and I never knew you was on that. Great job with that, the hot flash dance, and, you also have a show coming up with the, Moontown
Mm, yes. Yes.
Tribute to the Legends show, and that's a great lineup with Theo Love, who does, Barry White. He's really great. We have a Luther, Aaliyah, I think it's Tina Marie, Angie Stone, Jackie McGee is also on that show.
Yes.
Like, it's
Yes.
gonna be a really, and, sorry if I missed your name, I can't remember everything. But it's gonna be a really great show out at Delaware State University coming up in February. Also, so February is real busy for you.
Yes. Yes. Coming straight from that Tropicana, going straight down there to the university. and helping out with the record company, you know, and for the artists that are with Moontown Record Company, I want you to understand this. It's about building. It's about teamwork.
Mhm.
It's about, doing what we got to do to get them doors open. And once the door is open, then you're going to be blessed. Then
Most
you'll be
artists
blessed.
don't understand that. They think once they become an artist that it's all glitz and glitter and diamonds and pearls, and you gotta pay. Styles P told me a long time ago when I first started doing music that you gotta pay your dues, and I didn't understand that. I didn't understand what paying your dues meant. I felt like if you was already out there, you already paid the dues. Why I gotta go pay 'em? But I understood in time that I had to create my own fan base, my own following. I had to build my name on top of what was being presented or whatever company was pushing me. It had to be about me. So, artists, just hang in there and, So, Mr. Bossman, if this interview goes viral, because it will, what's the one message you want the world to hear?
Well, the one message for the culture and the whole world to know one, that I am the boss man and it pays the cost to be the boss.
That part right there. So, okay, this is our closing question, and then we'll get into where people can find you. So I want you to finish this sentence. I don't perform like James Brown. I perform like
Me.
John the Bossman Hall. If I could have guessed what your answer was going to be, that's what I guess is go. I would that would have been my guess. So
Mhm.
tell people where they can find you at and how they can get your music. I mean, follow you because that's very important. Make sure you guys follow him. Keep up on all his shows he has coming up because it's a lot. So where can people find you?
Well, they can go to Facebook. I have several pages, but you can go under John Hall or go under John the Boss Man Hall. If you really want to do, all you got to do is just Google my name. It's going to pop up, John the Boss Man Hall, and you're going to see the movies and everything I done done.
Movies? Oh, we didn't even
Yeah.
get to that. I'm gonna have to make this a John the Bossman whole series with
I was in Creed 1.
coming.
I was in Creed 1. It was filmed here in Philadelphia. The first Creed 1, I was in that as an extra. And
Amazing.
then Lionsgate came back. Um, a brother named Saeed Muhammad came back, and he had a story of a club owner going bad, going to lose his club, and he's my uncle, and he's rich, and I'm
Mm.
coming in as his nephew to save his business with my show, and everybody's going to follow me to that club, and he's going to get the money he needs to get his business back up and running.
Oh,
And
that's nice.
that
I gotta check that out. Where's that movie at?
it's called Airy Planet Live. And what I'm gonna do, I'll send you the link to it because he didn't put it up. We were shopping it, trying to actually break it into a series. I mean, so we got the first part, and a lot of good artists was in this movie with me. As a matter of fact, I went and got most of my friends and
Look,
told them, come on.
tell him to holler at Miss Goldie. We can get some things situated.
Yeah, yeah,
Our long working relationship over
yeah.
at Sound Records. Thank
Uh-huh.
you so much for joining us at Worldwide Entertainment TV, and it's been such a pleasure.
Yes, me too. It's good. I mean, I love trying to encourage our younger ones. I love telling the story, how my life had been, and like I said, it ain't always been good. You have your ups and downs, but you take that and push that to the side and keep on going forward.
That's right. That is right. So thank you so much for joining us here on Worldwide Entertainment TV. Make sure y'all stay tuned because we always gonna bring you the culture. We always gonna bring you the truth. We always gonna bring you the exclusive. You never know what we got up our sleeve. So you gotta stay tuned. Make sure you like, share, follow, and comment. So until next time, everybody.
Bye.
Thanks for watching Worldwide Entertainment TV. Make sure you hit that subscribe button and check out more videos right here on the channel. We've got a lot more coming your way.